I got this pattern recently, and I think this is what the project is that I will do next. Because even though summer is almost over, this is going to be very nice and cool to wear in the house. Our house tends to be a bit warm, and I think we can get a bit of wear out of it because there's simply fewer pieces in the packet. So I'll show you how it comes. It comes like this. I can cut it apart, but I think I'm going to treat it just like I did Gertie's patterns, because if you keep it intact, you have quite the range of sizes, so it's quite different. So the important thing is to look at the measurements, the finished garment measurements, and then see what size you're going to closest fit into. Okay, so here on this piece you can see the pieces to make the garment, which is not that many actually, only 6 pieces. So that's quite convenient, and means that the actual put together is going to be really fast. Plus, there are no sleeves, which makes it even easier. The piping though, that goes around the armholes and the neckline, that's going to be a bit of work, and it goes all the way down. As you can see, it's really cute. Of course, you can buy that maybe easily in the US. Here, probably I can buy it somewhere, but it's not as easy to find it in a foreign country. I think I'm just going to do the shorter version in a pink or kind of a fuchsia. It's between red and pink, polka and white polka dot material that I already have, because I should have enough. I think I bought 4 yards of it, so that should be enough for my size. But it's not, obviously it's not going to be enough for the longer one, because even the smallest size you have to have more than 4 yards. So that won't work, but the shorter dress, yeah, we're good. So I will do the shorter version, even though I prefer the longer one. We'll do the shorter one, because that's the material I have. Okay, so I will show you next how I'm going to lay it out and trace it onto other paper so I can keep this intact. Okay. Right, so I have cut out all of the pattern pieces in the largest size. So I will keep all of the sizes. That way, if you resell, if I resell the pattern, then all the pieces, all the sizes will be intact. So I cut out around the biggest size, and any areas where you had to kind of choose, like here, I went around that part. So all the sizes are here. Then I will lay them out with my parchment paper, and I will trace off my size to be exact. That way, yeah, this entire pattern will remain intact for the next person. Okay, so I don't know if I'll do that today or later, but once I get my size traced off, cut out, then I'll show you the next part. And you can see, look how big this pattern piece is for the skirt. It's massive. Actually, this piece here attaches to the big skirt pattern. It's definitely a circle skirt. And then it's so cool at how they really conserved space here, because this is for the shorter skirt, and then this is for the longer skirt part. But by keeping it all together, I can revisit this pattern, and like this time I'm gonna have to make the shorter one, but next time I can make the longer one because I'm gonna keep it intact. I'll show you what I'm doing here. So with the pattern pieces, I laid some paper underneath. This is this really big paper basically that I found at the dollar store. And then my size I mark on top of the pattern with a pen, and it bleeds through a little bit, enough so that I can trace it on this side. So that way I still have, again, all sizes on my pattern. If I gain weight, I can adjust. If I lose weight, I can adjust. And then I'll just cut out this paper completely for my size that I'll use for this piece. Okay, so here's the cutout skirt piece. I will cut 2 of these for this pattern. But I wanted to point something out. The nice thing about patterns, especially if it's a dress, is you can get more than just the dress out of it. I can use this exact same pattern to make a skirt or to make a sleeveless top. So in reality, you only need a few patterns to make a whole wardrobe if you want. So, looking at the sewing directions, there's an interesting little clip here. Fashion facts of the 1950s. It says, social trends continued to have influence over fashion. The post-war economy boomed, and the baby boomers of the 1950s were big consumers. Fashion took its lead from Hollywood for its glamour, and television became a fixture in households across America. Very full skirts and dressmaker details became important. Yes, dressmaker details, which are extremely lacking in today's society because everything is so quickly manufactured that nobody cares about these kind of details. Like darts, for example, which make everyone's clothing look much more flattering, but are often left out in today's clothing. It says, narrow waistlines were exaggerated and shoulders were rounded and softened. New man-made fabrics became more popular and sewing patterns were readily available, making it possible for women to create a wide range of garments that reflected all of the current fashion trends. Okay, so after you see that, you'll have, there's a fabric key here showing you right side, wrong side, interfacing, lining, and then it shows you the general directions, which are actually very explicit, I think, and quite helpful, especially if this is your first pattern. It's a really good starting place because they describe a lot of it to you. So, jumping over here to number 1, it looks like the first thing we need to do is stay stitching to make sure that the neckline doesn't get stretched out of shape. And looks like they even do, no, this is the stay stitching. Okay, and then they're showing you sew it at the shoulders, sew it at the sides, of course sew all the darts. Pretty straightforward. Great. So it looks like we will start with the bodice. Stay stitch bodice front neck edge 3/8 inch from cut edge in direction of arrows. Right, so you go down on this side and then down on the other. The stitching stays in permanently and helps prevent stretching and curved edges. Stay stitching will not be shown in the following illustrations. To make darts in bodice front with right sides together, fold the fabric. Okay, yes, I know how to do the darts. Ooh, gives you a nice little tip. To prevent a bubble at the point, make the last few stitches right on the fold and leave the thread ends long enough to tie a knot. Do not backstitch at the point. Oh, I didn't know that. But I did on my last one, actually it was okay. Press the dart flat, but maybe because the fabric was thicker, so I should probably do it this way this time. Press the dart flat along the stitching to blend the stitches, then press bust darts down, pressing waist darts toward the center. Okay, so I'm going to start with the stay stitching like this picture shows, and then go ahead and do my darts. And I will do the darts also on the back, the front and the back. So it's like this is the back. I'll do the darts here as well as here because it's much easier before the pieces are actually combined. And of course I'll do the stay stitching around the neckline, and I guess we don't need it on the let's do it everywhere, anywhere there's a rounded part, just in case. All right, so I will start with that and then I will show you that progress. Okay, so I got the stay stitching done first, and then I went ahead and sewed all of the darts on the front of the bodice. And I had a little trouble. This fabric is not as high quality as the ones I have used before, but oh no, it came out okay. It was a little finicky. So, yay. So you can see this is gonna fit nicely to a lady's curves, which is just more flattering for all body types. So that's one reason it's nice to get your own material, make your own clothes, because most of the popular styles today, they don't use the darts, they don't put in darts, so they're just not as flattering. It's like wearing a bag. Some people, if they're very, very slim, can pull off the bag look, but most women, we need a bit more shaping in the bodice. So yeah, this will be really flattering. Okay, so now I'm just gonna do the second step. I'm gonna go and stay stitch the neckline. No, that's the front. But yeah, I will do this stitching along here. So stay stitch the bodice back. I will do that, and then I will do the waist darts here. And I'll go ahead and do the shoulder and then the side seams and show you that. So I want to show you something really quick. I have marked and pinned these darts, but I'm trying something different up here. So this is the very tip of the dart, and I am marking it with this pin here, because it's quite hard to see when you're at the machine exactly where the tip of the point is, but it's really important that you start at the tip of the point and on the very edge of the fabric and then come all the way down. So I think this little pin is going to be a great guide that's going to help me more efficiently start at the tip of the dart. So we'll see if it made it easier. So now the bodice is mostly put together, now's a good time for a fitting. So this is the back of it, so I'm going to try it on and see how it fits. Does it need to be taken in anywhere? How tight am I going to pull it to do, yeah, that check. And then I'm ready to go on to number 3, putting the bias tape, which mine hasn't come in the mail yet, around the armhole edges. And then I'm ready to start the skirt, stitching the skirt. So it's, actually this is a really easy pattern, especially if you're a beginner. Okay, so the next step, I unfortunately got this wet. So the next step is to put bias tape all the way around the armholes. So I have taken the bias tape and pinned it in place. It calls for 1/2 inch, but unfortunately all I have is 1.3 centimeters, so a bit smaller, but I think it'll still turn out. So I'm going to stitch that all the way around and show you that part. All right, the piping is done around the edges of the armholes. Now it's on to the skirt bottom, where I am going to work on the pockets. So I'm going to sew on the pockets, and I'm going to also put some of the bias tape around the top edges of the pockets, which will be really lovely. Okay, so now I'm going to start working on the pockets and the skirt. And the first thing I need to do is there's 2 pieces. I need to go around the top and do a stabilizing stitch just all the way across. And then with the pockets, I'm going to add bias tape to the top edge. These are going to be patch pockets. And then I turn them over after the bias tape, right? and I start folding it over like this, and I'll press it and pin it so that I can sew it all the way around before I actually put it onto the dress. Okay, so when I get those steps done, I'll show you that. Okay, so I sewed the pockets on, and I also sewed with a French seam the skirts together. So the next part is to work on the tie. So right here, tie ends. Fold the end in half lengthwise with right sides together. Stitch 3/8 from seam, leaving end with small and large dots open, trim the corner. Alright, so the next part is to turn tie end right side out and press. On inside, pin ties to bodice, matching small and large dots having raw edges even. Baste. Apply double fold bias tape to back and neck edges in the same manner as dress A. Okay, so this is actually the hardest part because when you're trying to turn it the other way around, it's quite challenging. I will press these, and when it's done, I will show you that. They are almost finished at this point. So I sewed on the skirt, I've sewed on the ties. Now I just need to put the piping or the bias tape all the way around the neckline and add in these small detail piping like they did in the packet with the little bows. I can add that, although they don't have it on this dress. Let's see, I could add it, I think. Maybe down here, right? 1, 2, 3. So we'll see. Okay, almost done.